Welcome to Explore Parenting Growth, the channel where we help parents confidently guide their children towards success in life and career. Each week, we bring you real conversations, proven strategies, and inspiring stories to strengthen your parenting journey. There are times when parents struggle with their children, and their instinct often is to fix the child. But what if the deeper work starts with parents and their communication with each other? Today, we're joined by Nicholas and Carmen Sowell from Sowell Ministries, marriage coaches who help couples strengthen their communication, navigate conflict, and build unity. They're also prepare and rich facilitators like my wife, which gives this conversation a very practical foundation. In this episode, we'll explore how communication between spouses shapes emotional safety in the home and why strengthening your marriage may be one of the most impactful things you can do for your kids. So, thank you guys so much, Nicholas and Carmen, for joining us. We really appreciate if you could just share a little bit about yourselves.
Yeah, well, it's an honor to be here. So thank you guys for having us. We appreciate it. A little bit about us is, I've been in ministry for 20 plus years, a lot of it in pastoral care with marrieds, mission work, Christian radio kind of runs the gamut as far as ministry is concerned. And you want to share a little bit about you?
Yeah, my ministry experience looks a little bit it's still pastoral care that's a little bit more one-on-one, more in the realm of inner healing and wanting to go after heart health and heart wholeness, that kind of thing. And what that looks like, yes, on a bigger scale, like within the church, but also just like one-on-one with whatever pastoral care I've kind of come across in different ministries.
So we've been doing this work for going on 2 years now, and have just really loved it. We've been able to see marriages thrive and restored, and a lot of the communication pieces that you guys already spoke to really come into a prominent place that has really transformed the marriage space and even parents at large.
First question I have is how does a healthy marriage free parents to be more patient and present for their children?
Oh, it's a great question. Well, we really believe that everything starts in the unity of the marriage. So if they're connected, if they're thriving, if they're in unity, they have more bandwidth for the kids. They're not fighting for themselves, their needs, their heart. They're not fighting for unity with each other. So what it does is actually frees up a lot of bandwidth and a lot of times awareness of the kids' needs that sometimes go unnoticed because they're fighting for themselves or fighting each other. And so what we realize is when their communication is on point and their unities together, it actually creates an eyes and precedence and priority that goes back to the kids in a way they get to recognize something that oftentimes they're not seeing because of everything else that's going on.
Gotcha.
So, what do you see children learning about safety and trust simply by observing how their parents talk to each other?
Such a good question, because I feel like they learn so much. I feel like our basis for communication actually comes from what we learned in the home and what was modeled to us through our parents. I mean, I could share personally that my communication style growing up was very much because it's what I saw between my parents. And then you expect that of other people because that is what you experienced in the home.
Right.
So when it's healthy, when you're seeing your parents, talk through conflict, when you're seeing them use, respectful language to each other, that becomes your norm. But if you're seeing the opposite, that becomes your norm as well. And then all of a sudden you're having to relearn things or you're coming out and you're like, "Why am I seeing these conflicts in my relationships?" Oh, it's because I was taught that as a child. Well, I watched my parents communicate.
My next question is how does a peaceful home differ emotionally from a silent but tense home for children and for the family as a whole?
Yeah. I feel like, um, I feel like those 2 things create such different internal worlds. So a peaceful home would create this internal stability for a child where it's like everything is okay. I've experienced children who don't who grow up in that silent, tense home, and it's almost like it creates this cultivated anxiety that there is something wrong, and there's something wrong constantly, and we don't know what it is because it's silent and it's not talked about. But it's just like the child feels this constant tension, and it creates an anxiety. Whereas if it's peaceful, there's like this, ah, like, we're okay. It's gonna be okay. We don't maybe there is other things going on that are wrong, but it's okay because the internal is okay. I feel like that's the biggest difference.
Yes, that's very helpful. I also did work as a prepare enrich facilitator previously in my private practice. So I understand how you work deeply with couples around personality differences, strengths, and growth areas. In my own work with premarital and married couples, I've seen how powerful this kind of insight can be for improving communication, conflict resolution, and shared goals. From your perspective, how does this kind of guidance help couples be more effective and united in their parenting?
Yeah, it's a great question. And we love Prepare and Enrich. It is such a huge tool that we use with every single couple we work with. And you know, so for those that aren't aware, just a quick overview for all listeners. Prepare and Enrich is they have tests for premarital couples, they have tests for marital couples, and we actually have our couples go through it prior to doing work with them. So it goes into communication style. Are they dominant? Are they more avoidant or assertive? What are their backgrounds? How are they raised? What are their expectations? So it kind of really goes under every facet of communication and relational aspects that you can imagine.
Yeah.
So for the pre-marrieds, it definitely brings up everything that they need to ask the questions for. For the marrieds, it kind of gives us a lot of what the issues are before we even step into working with them. So to have them, it really becomes our map in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Because if we can identify on the front end of things, then when we step into session with them, 99% of the time they're saying, yeah, those are exactly what the issues are that we're
Right.
dealing with. And really, I would say the vast majority communication is a big part of it. Sometimes it is expectations that aren't, they have different levels or set expectations that they aren't meeting in each other. But when they understand, okay, this is what drives me. These are the ways that I best am communicated to. These are the best ways that we walk out conflict together, all these different things, right? Um, those are the building blocks of their level of unity and understanding of each other. And in many ways, those tools are so transparent that we have seen a lot of parents, couples turn around and say they now use those with their kids, and it's been wildly effective.
Wow.
So having just, obviously a general awareness around those things is transforming the marriages, but it's also then trickling down into the kids and how they interact with the kids and empowering the kids to use those same tools and how they communicate with them. And we're just seeing, we talk about the marriage unity, but that actually echoes into the family unity because a lot of those parents are handing those tools to the kids and then they're using them as a family unit, which is making things healthier. It's making the home better. The kids are thriving. And so, yeah, I could not speak more enough about it. It really has become a huge block in what we do and how we work with couples. And it's just been a really cool byproduct to see that organically flow into the entire nuclear family.
That's super powerful.
Yeah.
My next question, what happens inside a child when they see their parents repair conflict?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like this is super significant because if a child gets to actually experience a parent, like a conflict happen, like let's say a conflict happened in front of them, and then they get to watch a parent walk through it, I think even subconsciously, it actually teaches them, oh, conflict is not that big of a problem. If a child also doesn't see conflict played out, or maybe they only see the conflict, but then they don't see the resolution or whatever it is, I feel like what that teaches a child is, oh, conflict is really big. I can't fix it. Therefore, I either have to avoid it, or if a conflict happens, it's just going to blow everything up.
True.
Whereas if they can watch a parent actually resolve something in front of them, they're like, oh, that actually was okay. This is conflict's going to be okay. If conflict happens, it's going to be okay. And it creates that reassurance of, oh, we can learn how to do this. Now, obviously, maybe that's not something that a parent is like actively teaching is in the moment of like, hey, this is how it's going to be okay. But that's the message that the child can receive as they're watching that conflict play out and be resolved.
Right. That's so true. I know that kids learn more from what we do than what we say, for sure. Yes.
We have a 1.5-year-old that we're learning that from every single day.
So with that, what type of emotional damage do you see happen when conflict goes unresolved or is hidden?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Um, the damage could be irreparable if it's not dealt with. The damage can go from the parents to the kids. It can become generational even.
Yeah.
I think the sad part is a lot of people just weren't handed the tools that they need to walk out marriage or parenting well. Like how many of us can say, our parents now there are parents that set that model and set the precedence and a great example and give their kids those tools. But the vast majority of us weren't handed those, right? Like how many of us grew up in a household that actually exemplify that in a really healthy way?
Right.
And so what we see is if there's emotional damage, even something that is really traumatic, if it is actually responded to and healed, has much less effect than even something that could be smaller that goes unhealed or damaged. And so the emotional damage can be it can flow into identity, it can flow into behavior, expectation. Um, it could be a lie that came in at a kid's childhood that they then live out of for the rest of their life. Like there are so many huge ways that the emotional damage can actually leave a mark on that child that they live out of for the rest of their life. So that's part of what we really try to go after and heal. Because we know that if we can work on the root issues, the wounds, the traumas, the lies, the emotional damage is minimized so much more than if that stuff is even, some parents are they're unknowing or unaware of the damage that it's causing.
Yeah.
And so if we can actually shine a light on that and then say, hey, here's how we walk it out or how we heal it, man, in the same way that it could be detrimental to the kids or even generationally, can also be as restorative or healing.
Yeah.
And similar to those lines, what happens when, emotionally when kids sense division or receive mixed messages from their parents?
Yeah. Yeah. I find at least what I've even noticed, like, let's say there's a moment that's even off between us 2, I can watch our boys go like, they're all of a sudden, they're getting frustrated for no apparent reason. All of a sudden, like, their emotions are out of whack, and then I'm like, "Oh, of course, everything's up in the going wild," when I'm like, "Actually, no, like, we set the precedent for the emotion in the home, and so if we are off, like, then all of a sudden they're at each other. They're arguing more. They're fighting more. They're more sensitive. And I just find it is that trickle down effect because all of a sudden they're being affected by things and they don't even realize that they're being affected by us. And sure, maybe their brother did do something. And probably they did. And they're getting agitated about it, but it's like I find that it can be over exaggerated where like maybe this one thing wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but suddenly he's in tears and I'm like, "Why are you crying over this?" When I'm like, "Oh, wait a second. There's frustration in the home and that's why they're actually responding bigger than they normally would if that frustration wasn't there."
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So my last question that I have for you guys, as we're wrapping up, is can you give one or really two practicals that couples can start today to improve their communication?
Yeah.
You want to start?
Sure. Well, I'm afraid I'm gonna steal the really big one.
Go for it.
But, the biggest tool or one of the biggest tools that we hand out to couples right off the beginning is called the I tool, the I message. which you've probably heard of it, but it's literally I feel blank when blank. It's like if you can focus your communication and bringing something to your partner with I feel rather than you did or you yada yada yada. If you can start with I feel angry, I feel frustrated, I feel sad. Make sure it's a feeling word, not a
I
not a
If you can replace it with I think.
absolutely not a feeling. You keep say, "I feel like you're an idiot." I feel and then state what is happening, what happened when you felt that. It will actually put the onus on you for what you are bringing to the table of what you're trying to share and not create blame, not create anything, but allow the other person to actually see what is going on inside of you. It's more vulnerable, but it actually gets to the heart of what's really going on. So the I message it's simple, but it is so transformative in the way that you start to interact.
Yeah, and just the other piece I would say to that is really what it is a mastery of being good at communicating about ourselves. Like I'm bringing my heart to you, maybe the hurt, maybe the offense, and allowing you then in vulnerability to see my heart, respond to it.
Yeah.
And in that, instead of the attacking or the accusing, it's when our spouse gets to see our heart and then have the opportunity to respond to it.
Yeah.
With our kids, it's when we actually are disciplining, we make sure that we're trying not to do it out of our own frustration or anger. And even when we know that we're not and it hurts them, on the tail end, there's always a wrap up conversation, which is, hey, I need you to know I'm for you. I love you. I'm not doing this because I want to hurt you, but because I want to raise you to be the best man that God has entrusted me to raise you to be, or the best, woman of God has entrusted me to raise you to be. And I typically always end those conversations with like, "Hey, I want you to know I love you. Can I have a hug?" And when I know when even in the midst of the discipline, when they want to run to me and connect, I'm like, our connection is good, and they know that even in the discipline, my heart and my love is on for them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Those are great insights and encouragement for sure.
Nicholas and Carmen, thank you guys so much for joining us today and for answering our questions and really being helpful for us and for our audience.
Yeah.
I would also ask you guys to just share where you can be reached at, so people, if they want to get a hold of you, they can do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Our website would be the biggest and easiest. It's just www.sowell, SOWELL ministries.com. Our biggest platform is Instagram. It's the same. It's at Sowell Ministries. And then we also have a Substack, which is this by the same name that you could search. We try to do posts about marriage coaching and just Christian living in general. But yeah, our website, Instagram, and Substack would be our touching points.
Sounds good. Thank you guys so much for your time again.
Thank you guys for having us. It's been an honor to
And
be.
excellent stuff. Well, as you always say when we wrap up, remember, parenting is a journey.
Explore your growth.